Harbor Me, Chapter 3. While Miss Laverne talked to Esteban about his father that morning, I thought about mine. I thought about handcuffs. I thought about fathers being taken away. I thought about uncles coming to the rescue and mothers gone. The memory is mostly shadows now. My father's pale hands hanging from silver handcuffs, the cops pushing his head down into the police car, my uncle coming to me and lifting me up into his arms. I was 3 years old. When my uncle first came to live with me, I was afraid. It was this vague fear around the edges of myself. Whenever I got real quiet in class, Ms. Laverne knew why. As I watched Esteban that morning, I felt it. The fear coming around the corner, finding me, finding both of us. I stared over at him. I wanted to give Esteban the same sign, my pinky pointing toward him while my thumb pointed toward me. I wanted to say, I know that thing, Esteban. I've looked out the window that same way. Miss Laverne turned from Esteban and told us to read quietly to ourselves. We took our books from our bags and opened them, but I don't know if any of us read a single word. The whole world felt wide upon open suddenly, like it wanted to swallow us. I heard him tell Miss Laverne, I'm scared. I'm so, so scared. When the lunch bell rang, Esteban stayed behind. I wanted to touch his shoulder as I walked out and say, it won't always feel like the first day. It won't always feel this bad. But I didn't. I let the words hang in my throat until Holly grabbed my hand and pulled me down the hall with her. Behind us, I heard Amari say, what's going on? Talk to me, bruh. Chapter 4. If there's one thing I do remember as clear as if it happened an hour ago, it's the afternoon when Miss Laverne said to us, put down your pencils and come with me. It was the end of September and we had been taking a spelling test. Esteban had been absent for days, and when he finally returned, Ms. Laverne asked him if he was up to doing some work, and he nodded. It helps me forget for a little while. Forget what? Amari asked. That nobody knows where they took him. And now we're packing up everything, Esteban said, because if they took him, maybe they're going to take us too. I turned back to my test. I didn't want to think about fathers. Mine had been in prison for 8 years by then. In the last letter we'd gotten, he said he wasn't sure what would happen with his parole. If he got it, he didn't know exactly when he'd be coming home. I remember zero about living with him. Every good thing that happened had happened with my uncle. I couldn't imagine a different life. Didn't want to imagine it. Not for me, not for anyone. I was stuck on the word holiday. Did it have one I or two? My spelling had always been bad, but in Miss Laverne's class, it didn't matter so much because we were all at different levels in one thing or another. The words you miss just tell me what you don't yet know, Miss Laverne always said. It says nothing about who you are. For some reason, that made me feel better. I was 11 years old. What 11-year-old didn't know how to spell holiday? Put down your pencils and come with me. The six of us stood up. Our school uniforms were white shirts and dark blue pants or skirts. We could wear any jackets, shoes, and tights we wanted. I'd worn blue and white striped tights that day. Holly's tights had red stars on them. When we stood next to each other in the schoolyard that morning, our stars and stripes echoed the flag waving from the pole above us. We had spent the minutes before the bell rang dancing around it while Holly sang that old song about having a hammer. I'd hammer out danger, I'd hammer out a warning. We stood next to our desks and waited for Miss Laverne to tell us what to do next. Amari pulled his hoodie over his head, then quickly pulled it off again, the way he sometimes did when he was nervous. Amari was beautiful. His skin was so dark, you could almost see the color blue running beneath it. His eyes were dark too, dark like there was smoke behind his pupils, dark and serious and infinite. In that 5th, 6th grade class, I didn't know how to say any of this. I wanted only to look at him and look at him. Take a picture, it lasts longer, Amari said to me in such a cranky way it almost brought me to tears. Ashton smirked, then pushed his hair away from his forehead and held his hand there. She doesn't want a picture of you, Holly said. Bad enough we have to look at you 5 days a week. She had left her desk and was heading over to the classroom library. Holly, back to your desk, Miss Laverne said. I want you all to take your books. You won't be coming back here today. We all gathered our stuff and followed her into the hallway. Miss Laverne took out her phone and said, Smile, people. In the photo, Holly and I have our fingers linked together, our tights looking crazier than anything. Amari has his hood halfway on and halfway off, and Tiago, Esteban, and Ashton are all looking away from the camera. The picture is taped to my refrigerator now. We all look so young in it, our cheeks puffing out with baby fat, our uniform shirts untucked, Tiago's sneakers untied. We walked down the hall behind Miss Laverne, her heels softly clicking. I thought about how maybe one day I'd grow up to wear black shoes with small heels that clicked as I walked down the hall, and have students who following behind who were a little bit in love with me. Two small kids came running down the hall, but when they saw Miss Laverne, they stopped and started walking so slowly I almost laughed. Esteban pulled his knapsack onto his shoulder and held it with both hands. You okay, bro? Amari put his hand on Esteban's arm. Nah, Esteban said, not really. Amari moved his arm over Esteban's shoulder and kept it there.